Well, let's go to the actual verse that was brought up. Acts 16:3 says Paul wanted Timothy to accompany him, and he took him and circumcised him because of the Jews who were in those places, for they all knew that his father was Greek. People are going to say, okay, well, it doesn't say that he circumcised him because of the Torah. It says that he circumcised him because of the Jews. Now,
no, that means Paul circumcised him. That's what it means. That no one else did. No one else they knew he had an absent father. They just let him stay in the margins, right? I mean, they just
second-class citizen,
let
right?
him grow up as a young man. So unless people are going to argue that Paul is behaving out of fear of man here and doing exactly what he called Peter out for, go with that, I guess, if you want to exegete it that direction.
My boy's wicked smart. I think that there has been a significant push by people. I agree with you, by the way. I think that there's been a significant push by people to say, oh no, Paul wanted to be able to take him into the synagogues. But I would argue, and I've come around to this.
But that wasn't a barrier.
Exactly. And this is what I was going to say. I've come around to this because I used to hold that position. I used to hold the position that Paul wanted to be able to take him into the synagogues, and that he wasn't going to be taken seriously if Timothy was, if Timothy was his protege and wasn't circumcised. I've taken that position before in the past. However, through more research, I agree with you completely. The fact is that there were plenty of Gentiles, and we know this. This is in Acts. There were plenty of Gentiles in the synagogues, but they were seen as second-class citizens. What's interesting is that even after someone was circumcised, and we see this even today. I mean, clearly we can't connect today with what happened back then, but the rabbis will say, oh, once a Gentile is circumcised, it's as if he was born to Jewish parents. But it's still talked about all the time. He's not accepted. In all actuality, he's still a second-class citizen, right? But is he allowed in? Yeah, of course. The point is that Gentiles have always been allowed in the synagogues. We see this in Acts. So it wasn't the idea that Paul needed some recognition. And not only that, but Paul's credentials themselves stood for themselves. Paul is taught under the best in Jerusalem, somebody who is on the council, right? He's got it. He is an authority. The idea that Timothy would be some kind of a hindrance, I just don't see it. I think you're right. I think that Paul circumcises Timothy because the Jews won't. And some people might say, well, why wouldn't the Jews? There are plenty of people who were converting, quote unquote, converting. So why wouldn't they circumcise Timothy? And I think it's because he wouldn't bow down to the rituals that they want, to the authority structure.
Right. It's by the Holy Spirit that this is in the Bible, right? By Luke's writing of Acts.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. Is there anything else with anything?
I hope it clears it up for people. And I think we've talked about this before. I think it's possible my stance has changed since we talked about it last, though. So anyway, okay.
Covenant membership is by faith.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what, when Abraham, okay. So remember, Avram gets a new name in Genesis 17. We read about it. Your name shall be called Abraham. You shall uphold my covenant. Right. And he talks about circumcision. And so, but what about Ishmael? Can't Ishmael be the one? No, it's going to come from Sarah. Sarah, a year from now, etc. You're going to name him Isaac. Da 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 da. Well, Abraham's already righteous by faith. We know that. And then Abraham goes and circumcises himself and all the males of his household. So just imagine, okay, guys, line up. Don't ask any questions.
Just drop trow and trust me.
I think he taught them justification by faith.
Yeah.
Like you were mentioning in Romans 4.
And what circumcision meant.
He taught them something, that this meant something.
Right.
And that's what I believe. I believe that those men who received circumcision under Abraham before Isaac was born it had theological significance to them. It wasn't just like a mark of being a slave of Abraham, or it wasn't a mark of differentiating them from other nations. It was understanding something about man's relationship with God.
Continue listening to this conversation by clicking the full show link on the left side of your screen, or check out the video on the right that YouTube thinks you'll like. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel so you never miss content from Messiah Matters.